Hello everyone, my name is Basti and I'm an independent trader with years of experience in the crypto markets. If you're looking for the latest information for daily chart analysis, and if you're looking for trading predictions as well as trading news, then you've come to the right place. Let's go. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Nice to have you here today. As you can see on my screen, this is my Twitter profile. For those of you who would like to follow me, you can find the link in the description, of course. So let's have a look at the 4-hour chart for Bitcoin, where we see that we are still inside the downtrend channel, something that we've tried to break out of a few times here. So in other words, we haven't really been able to get out of the resistance line. But one thing that is positive, and that is that we have found some support down here. This is something I've shown you in my Telegram group yesterday. So for those of you who would like to join us, you can find the link in the description. It's in German, of course. And what I said was that our support had to be strong enough to give us a bounce back in the price. And that's exactly what happened yesterday. And that support line for us yesterday was at 35,500 US dollars. And as we can see here on the graph, indeed, it did form a very nice W pattern. And at the moment, we are retesting the neckline for said pattern. And as you can see, at the moment, we are bouncing up and down within two resistance lines. One is at $35,230, which is our neckline here. And the next resistance at 37,323 US dollars, which comes from two lows that we'd formed previously. One comes from the 5th of August of last year. We can see, of course, that we had been ascending and then we retested this support line, which now has become our resistance at the current price. And we have been struggling to get over that resistance. But if we do manage somehow to close a daily candle above that resistance line, then that gives us a very good chance to go and test our resistance line for the downtrend before we could continue to move up and test our price at 39,600 US dollars. So that is something I'm going to be on the lookout for today. And as you can see, there's also an uptrend channel, as you can see here. So as long as we stay within this range and we don't come out of the channel, we should be okay. And of course, we have to wait for what happens after the traditional markets open today. And as you know, yesterday when the markets opened, the S&P continued to drop. So Bitcoin also lost some of the gains that had made before. In other words, the S&P is once again controlling the direction in which Bitcoin goes. So now let's go and have a look at some of the news. Soon we actually will be, or in China, they will be celebrating the new year. This is a huge celebration for the Chinese people, and they will be doing that for about 15 days. And what that for us means, of course, is that the markets in China will also be closed. And that could represent that there's going to be less activity and movement in the markets. So that is something that we as well have to take into consideration. In the past, we've learned that when China is celebrating for 15 days, of course, the market is missing a big chunk of capital. And that, of course, can affect the way the markets are influenced, which in turn, of course, translates into a lot of volatility in the market. In other words, this is something that you should always keep in the back of your head for whenever a country the size of China has this sort of celebration. And this will be on the 1st of February. And so do watch out for this next week. Then we also have another very important article here. There is going to be a hearing about stablecoin in the House of Representatives in the US. It will take place on the 8th of February and it will be carried out as a virtual meeting. They are supposed to be discussing a lot of different issues regarding regulations or opportunities. There is still no list of guests. So again, we just have to keep that information on the radar. Of course, anything that they say or might do after the hearing could indeed affect the market movement for Bitcoin and the other coins. So now I wanted to show you once again a very, very important chart, and that is a chart that nobody's talking about at the moment. And I did want, however, to take a time to show you guys something about this. So as you can see here, we are looking at the weekly chart. And so on the left, we have the weekly chart for Bitcoin, and on the right, we have the currency index for the US dollar, or the price index for the US dollar. So I do find this information very, very interesting. That's why I wanted to share it. When the price of the US dollar goes down, usually the price of Bitcoin tends to climb very strongly. And just the opposite happens when the price of the dollar goes up. So if we look at this month of September in 2020, the price of the US dollar did sink for a few weeks. And that is precisely the time where the price of Bitcoin started to rise very strongly. Then after that, the price of the US dollar did start to rise again for weeks. And then the price of Bitcoin started to fall strongly as well. And then the price of Bitcoin exploded again. And of course, the price of the US dollar started to sink for 2-3 months. And you can see that here very clearly. And of course, interestingly enough, now that the price of the US dollar continues to rise, we see the price of Bitcoin has been dropping for weeks now. So now the price of the US dollar is starting to reach a resistance level, which we can see here, or it's also a level of accumulation for the US dollar. And it's not even just a small one, it's actually a very strong accumulation area. So what I think is interesting is that if we do manage to come into the accumulation area and we are here for some time before we are rejected again and then push the prices lower, then that's exactly the time where Bitcoin's price could start to rise yet again. So do keep that in your radar as well, what will happen with the price index for the US dollar. If indeed in the next few weeks we'll see a rejection up here, and then for weeks we could go into a big correction. So I think this is a very important indicator that shows us, of course, yet again, that when the price of the dollar rises, the price of Bitcoin drops, and when the price of Bitcoin rises, then the price of the dollar drops. So I just wanted to take some time to show you this to you guys, because that's something that I really haven't heard anybody talk about, and it's very important. So what I do expect for the rest of the day today, and the price, of course, at least what I hope for the price is that it does remain within this range, that even that it's able to overcome the 37,323 US dollar line, so that we find an opportunity to come into this resistance area here at the top, which is a very strong resistance for us at the moment. But this could take a couple of days before it happens. And something to keep in mind, today is Friday, so that means the markets do close for the weekend. So we have to keep an eye out for the traditional markets today. Now let's look at the Bitcoin's dominance chart. And as you can see, this is something that I've already talked about a few times this week, and that is that I do expect, as we can see here, that the dominance will continue to rise. And I personally think that there is a very good chance that we do break out of our resistance line from our downtrend, because at the moment the altcoins are really not performing as strong as Bitcoin is. And just to remind you something I've also said previously, and that is that when Bitcoin drops, usually the altcoins tend to drop 2-3 times as harder. If Bitcoin manages to break out and falls back down, then of course the altcoins will continue to fall even more. And even if Bitcoin's price doesn't climb still and instead drops, still the dominance will continue to grow in comparison to the altcoins. Now let's have a look at what Ethereum is doing, and as you guys can see, we have been struggling between support and resistance for some time now. And like I've said before, this week we shouldn't be looking at patterns, but rather go by the support and the resistance, especially because of the influence that the S&P is having on the cryptocurrencies. As you can see, we've tested the resistance at the top a couple of times, and the support we have tested as well. We even did test the resistance or the support at 2,318 US dollars. And previously also I mentioned that we would be testing the price at 2,318 US dollars, which we did. And then, as I also said, we bounced back up from there. But having said all that, we are in a consolidation range, and I don't really think that anything will happen so long as either we see a decision that pushes the prices down or we confirm and go above our resistance levels. Otherwise, the price of Ethereum is really not going to do much. So my suggestion is to stay still. However, you can still trade, of course, support and resistance. One could open a short trade at the resistance line, or then take a long at the support line. But of course, in both situations with a very nearby stop loss. And then do that a couple of times, see how it all plays out. That is, of course, no financial advice from my end. It's just an observation in general. And remember that you do have to be very careful with everything you do. It could also be that the market just simply shoots up and it does something completely different. So keep that in mind. So I think that's pretty much it for this video. Of course, I hope that you guys have been able to learn something and discover something new today. And do feel free to leave your comments, of course, below. I'm always interested to read those. And in general, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. It's completely free. Make sure you hit the notification bell. Follow me on Twitter. You can also join our Telegram groups, and you can find all that information in the description. I hope that you have a great day. That's all for me. I am Basti. Bye bye.